My name is Emma Moulton, and this is my final presentation over my topic chosen for my rhetorical analysis and my bioethical concern, which is GMOs, otherwise known as genetically modified organisms. GMOs are organisms that have been modified and their genes have been mutated in a way that does not naturally occur in nature. And the point of this, through a science and agricultural perspective, is that these organisms can then withstand on their own the direct application of an herbicide and or be able to produce an insecticide on their own, which is obviously something they cannot do. And despite these promises, there is no evidence that any of the GMOs actually do increase the yield, have a higher drought tolerance, or enhanced nutrition. However, we're hoping to see throughout research and data collected over the years and GMOs being used more frequently that these things will be as a result. So it's really important to understand how this really impacts Americans as we start to see these GMOs on the shelves in our grocery stores, and we are often faced with choices of whether we are going to consume something that is genetically modified or has been organically farmed. And up until December 21st of 2018, there was no regulation that required the labeling of GMOs in food stores, so people were often consuming certain products that had been genetically modified without the knowledge of it. And it doesn't mean that it did anything to them and harmed them or benefited them necessarily in a positive or negative way. However, now the DARK Act has been passed, which means that it is required to label these GMOs, which does mean that Americans are able to make the decision on their own of whether they would like to consume these products or just organically consume their products. The other side of this is the organic farming, which can be impacted greatly by the spread of seeds from these genetically modified organisms as well as the chemicals, because patents are being obtained by these biotech companies in order to control the distribution and use of these seeds. So if genetic drift were to naturally happen in the soil and cause soil from one farm to drift to the other that's organically farmed, causing their products to have the modifications of the other farm where it's patented, that farmer can be in trouble, lose their farm because they have product from the other side, even though it was by no fault of their own. So because new organism forms are being created and DNA that we have never seen before is being created, genetically modified crops are also responsible for the emergence of superweeds and superbugs, which means that in order to kill or to control these things, we have to spread more chemicals over our fields and over our plants and crops, which certain poisons such as 24D, which was a major ingredient in Agent Orange, has to be used in order to kill these things that are emerging because they are so strong and so chemically powerful. And the long-term impacts of the GMOs are unknown. Once released into the environment, these novel organisms cannot be recalled, nor can these chemicals that we're spraying as well. In response to the information that I provided, throughout my research, I gathered the conclusion that most researchers are standing behind GMOs and they believe that they are safe for consumption and they are safe in the environment long-term because they have already been implemented into grocery stores and a lot of testing has been done on certain GMOs. However, the more worrisome part of it is about the different emergences that come with. Therefore, certain researchers such as David Rotman, who is an editor at MIT Technology Review, he elaborates on the insufficiency of modification and rather the benefit of gene editing. Focusing on the inconvenience of modification, he explains the ways that we can alter our foods for more nutritional value and to change the misconceptions that we already have about them. He explains that new gene editing tools don't insert a foreign gene to create a new trait as what previously happens with conventional GMOs, but rather just tweak the plant's existing DNA. He believes this is a much safer alternative and therefore we can understand more of how we're controlling the organism and changing it in order to benefit us. After I learned more about what researchers had to say, my informed decision was more leaning toward the fact that it will probably not be possible to completely 110% prove that these modified, even edited genes are naturally safe just because they don't occur in nature and the emergences that come with them, such as superbugs and superweeds, can't be controlled naturally. The fears are still somewhat theoretical. However, as more generations are raised consuming these products, the health effects down the road will be a lot more prevalent, and we'll see how the different chemicals that we are consuming are going to impact our health in later years. I plan to further my knowledge of GMOs in the future, and as more research comes available, I plan to make myself knowledgeable and understand the risks and benefits of gene modification or gene editing, because I believe that the technology that we have available in the world is something we really should take advantage of, and there have been so many new innovations available because of these things that seem somewhat unsafe or we're unsure because we don't really know, and they've turned out to be great things. So I think that it's kind of the same thing, that we just need to trust and understand the data and the research that backs up what we're trying to do. And I think that that applies to genetically modified organisms as well, in the ways that we can alter our food in order to make it more beneficial for us.